What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Thoughts. In today's episode, we have something very special planned for you guys. We're going to be breaking down 5 common thoughts that you usually see a lot throughout society. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The first thought that we have listed down here is listen to your parents.
So I think this one is very context dependent. If they're giving you advice or they're telling you something where they've had a good amount of experience in, then by all means go ahead and listen to it, right? If your parent is a doctor, let's say, and they're giving you advice around the medical field, that's a green light to listen to that. But if they're giving you advice about, let's say, business, but they've never really had experiences in that field, maybe take in the advice, but then also go and look at some other resources and then make your final decision. So I don't think you should always go with whatever they're telling you, but it's very context dependent. Look at what they're telling you and then assess and then go from there.
Okay, so just to add on to that, I think that I can completely agree with everything you just said. I think it's fully context based in the sense that what I do is when my parents tell me something, I always look at it like, okay, I've considered what you have told me. Now, how does that new information that have now entered into my brain, how can I now use that towards making my decision? And I think that in certain situations, the advice that they give you is always out of love and out of what they think is best for you. But that's the important thing, is they think they know what's best for you, but you really should try to take that information in and see what's best for yourself. So I think that's the important thing that I just want to add on to what you just said. But I think other than that, that's pretty much, I fully agree with what you said.
That's a great point. And I found whenever there's a disagreement, you always need to baseline, and it goes back to what you were saying. Whatever they're telling you is out of care and out of love, but sometimes they don't truly know what it is that you're going after or what it is that would fulfill you. So you need to make that final decision, and that final decision is made by taking in as much input as possible, ideally from people who are successful in that field, and then making your decision.
And I just want to add something actually onto that, because I think that especially as the generations are evolving, like your parents are usually, depending on who your parents are and how they raised you, typically you see them to be more old-fashioned, which makes sense, and they don't always understand like the new things that are happening in our generation, and they can't always relate, which is fine. But you have to realize that if you're trying to chase something that's maybe a little bit like out of the grain and not natural, and people maybe are going to shake their head at it and look at you a little bit differently, you have to understand that maybe people aren't going to like understand what you're doing, but you have to just go for it, whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that in those kind of situations, you can't always fully value your parents' opinion, because they're going to look at it like, why are you doing that? You should be a doctor, you should be doing this, etc., etc. So yeah.
Exactly. So the answer to that question is no, but it depends on the context.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Second one, being selfish is bad.
Okay, so for this one, for me, it's really interesting, because I think, like Soheil said, the common thought is that you need to be if you're not selfish, it's considered a bad thing. If you're selfish, it's considered a bad thing. But I think in a lot of situations, like, you need to just kind of like focus on yourself, and that is ultimately the thing that is going to help make the most impact to the most people. I think if you're not able to self-care yourself, and you're not able to make yourself in a good headspace and good mindset, you're not going to be able to take care of anyone else. So what's the point of taking care of other people and worrying about always being unselfish all the time if you're not even there yourself? And yeah, I'll let you speak on that before I continue.
Yeah, I think being selfish with the context of wanting to take care of yourself, because knowing if you do take care of yourself, then you're able to help others, that to me is completely fine. But if it's selfishness in terms of you don't really care about other people and you want everything to yourself, then I would stay away from that. And the analogy that comes to mind is on an airplane, we always hear, right, the seatbelt thing, always, or it's not the seatbelt thing, it's the oxygen mask. Like, always put put on your own mask before you put on someone else's mask. And it just goes back to everything. Like, you got to be careful. You got to take care of yourself before you're able to help other people. So if you come at it from that intention, I think being selfish is fine.
No, I completely agree, and I think just to add on to what you said about like just being there for yourself first. It's just super important that you are truly selfish first, unless, again, like he said, you have the wrong intentions of always looking out for yourself and kind of bringing other people down so you can be up. I don't think that's a good way of being selfish. Like, I think it's good if you look out for yourself first and then you're able to help others, like we said. But yeah, breaks that stereotype.
One last thing I'm going to add, intent I find is super important, because if you're not able to put that energy into yourself, you're then not able to help other people. So you're doing a disservice. So always look out for yourself first, because once you max out yourself, then you're able to give your best to the people around you.
Love it. All right, third one is live a comfortable lifestyle.
I completely disagree with this. Okay, not completely disagree. I think some aspects of your life should have comfort to it, but life is this interesting puzzle, and you should go and explore. You should go and have uncertainty, because that is what will truly bring you fulfillment. So in terms of, going for adventures, stepping out of your comfort zone, you should actively seek that. I think too many people find themselves into that comfortable position where, let's say they've gone to school, they get a job, and now they're settled in for the next 40 years, and they don't challenge themselves to fully explore what life has to offer. So in that sense, I disagree with that. I think you should not just be comfortable and settled. You should go out and keep exploring and keep seeking discomfort.
Okay, I have two things about this. So first, to just break that, I completely disagree with live a comfortable lifestyle as well as Soheil. But I think that I see a lot of the times with like parents and people that are older. So I think with this, age doesn't matter. But I think that as you get older, you tend to see people settling in and becoming more comfortable. And I don't really like that, because I don't think that is the way you should be living. I think, like you said, you should always have things that are uncertain. You should always be living life to the fullest. And I think living life to the fullest needs to have some uncertainty, not always being stable all the time. I don't know if we're talking financially or whatever it may be, but I just think that is something that you need in your life, is to constantly push those boundaries and make yourself uncomfortable on a daily basis, because I think that's the only way that you can really grow.
And just to clarify, I think we're both on the same page in terms of comfort, in terms of finances, in terms of location, family, relationships. 100%. Those are all in there. But what we're really talking about is people who tend to get into that routine and just live the same life and don't challenge themselves. They're just in that bubble the whole time. So for us, it's about stepping out of that bubble and challenging yourself.
And I think another important thing is about timing, because I think as we're younger, like we have more opportunity, because we don't necessarily maybe have a family or these necessary responsibilities. So I think people need to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? Because there's less maybe on their plate compared to when you're older. And as you just mentioned, when it comes to routine, maybe when you're older you have to like take care of the kids or spend time with your wife or whatever it may be, but like when you're younger you don't necessarily have those responsibilities. So I think you really just got to take advantage of the present moment now, especially in your 20s, 30s, whatever it may be. So yeah, that's what I think. I don't think you need to live a comfortable lifestyle.
Yeah, now's the time to risk it and go after it and take on those challenges. Next one, common idea number 4, everything in life should be balanced.
Everything in life should be balanced. So this one's interesting, because I'm actually someone personally myself, I love to do a lot of different things. So I don't just love one particular thing, and I believe a lot in balance. But I think that there are certain situations and certain periods of your life where you won't necessarily have the balance common idea that people think you need. Like, for example, you work 5 days a week and then the weekend you have off. Like sometimes there's going to be periods of your time, like right now, me and you, where we're like super young, we're trying to grow our social media, our presence, and all of this stuff. And sometimes you just gotta like grind it out and work as hard as you can 7 days a week. Sometimes, of course, you need a break. We're not crazy. We're not like robots or anything. But I think that, like I said, in certain moments and periods of your time, balance, like people think that if you're working really hard and you don't have quote unquote balance as a common idea, they think that it's unhealthy and you're not happy, you know, and they think all these different things. So I think that that's completely context dependent, but it depends on what part of your life that you are living in right now.
I think having a balance in life is totally cool, but also understanding that if you decide to have a super balanced life, you're also leaving a lot behind in the sense that, let's say you want to achieve greatness, like anything great, you're stepping out of balance. There's no way you're achieving anything great if you're just living a balanced life. You look at Kobe, right? In the gym, three times a day, 4 times a day, putting in the work. Michael Jordan in the gym. That's how you get to that level of greatness. But at the same time, when you do that, you're also sacrificing other things. So as you mentioned, it's all context dependent. I think you have to look at what will fulfill you and go from there.
And I think an important thing to understand is like having a super unbalanced lifestyle, like something like you mentioned, the Michael Jordan, the Kobe's, that's not for everyone. Like it really isn't. But you have to just, like Soheil said, you have to see what fulfills you, what makes you happy, what you want to do with your life. Don't just think like, I have to do this because someone else is doing it. You have to look at what you want to do and what makes you happy. That's the most important thing.
What I found is, for me, what works for me is having a core balance, but then at certain points in our life, you talked about this earlier with us really pushing it now, we push certain aspects of our life where other people might be criticizing us, but it takes that push, it takes that going out of balance to make things happen. And it doesn't need to be Jordan or Kobe level. You just need to figure out what works for you and what will fulfill you.
Awesome. Love that. Okay, we're going to go to the fifth idea, and that is intelligence is fixed when you're born.
I don't agree with this one. I think you're reading this book too. I've read Mindset by Carol Dweck, and 2 big ideas: growth mindset, fixed mindset. Growth mindset being that you can probably explain this better because you're reading it now, but your abilities are flexible, or you can learn through growing, you can develop through growing, right? And a lot of people think that if you have, like, let's say an IQ level or a certain trait, it's always going to be like that. That's not the case. If you put in the work, if you learn, if you grow, and if you have the mindset of believing that things can change if you put in the work, then I think, what was the common thought again?
Intelligence is fixed when you're born.
Then I think intelligence is not fixed when you're born. I think it's something you can develop and grow.
Okay, I love that. I completely agree. I don't think intelligence is fixed when you're born at all. I think that you can develop, like you said, you can grow, you can work on different things, both strengths and weaknesses. And I think that reading is something that people very often overlook. Reading self-development books, which is something we both do, like reading about whatever it is that you want to learn more about, whether it's business, whether it's physiotherapy, something like that, what I'm doing, science, whatever you want to learn about. I think that you can always make yourself more and more intelligent, and don't let other people tell you, don't let anyone, like for example, your high school teachers, if they're measuring your intelligence based on a test, and if you get a C or D or fail it, don't let that tell you that you're not intelligent, okay? Because one test or multiple tests throughout a few years cannot put a label on how smart you are. And I've never believed that, and I've always believed that no matter what, you can always turn around. It's just not fixed. Like you can make of it whatever you think is possible, and really the like how far you can go is limitless. It's just about your mind and understanding and realizing how much you think you can achieve, because belief is like the most important thing.
I agree with that, but it starts with belief, but then also understanding that it's gonna take an incredible amount of work, because you need to put in the work to change your belief system. It comes through building that momentum through doing, and that's how you're going to acquire intelligence or anything else really. It's through doing and putting in that work. And yeah, anything to add? Finish it off?
Not really. I think I'm good. I think that's pretty much it. So for that one, we don't think that it's fixed when you're born. We think that you can just continue to grow and nothing's ever fixed, to be honest, especially with intelligence. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. And that's pretty much it for this episode where we broke down 5 common thoughts. So is there anything you want to add before we end it off?
Yeah, let us know if you disagree with anything we said. Comment or hit us up, and we'd love to have a discussion.
Yeah, exactly. So stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.